Here's a video. Dude. Oh, man. Oh. Let's watch this.
In Israel, if you actually talk to the majority of Christians, talk to them, you'll see what they say. They say Israel is the only place where we're respected and protected.
And I can attest to that as a Christian who went to Israel. I spent 2 weeks there with the church, and we had an incredible time. One incident where a small child spit on one of the pastors, and it
No, brother. I mean, no notes. No notes. Officer Tatum shilling Shinergy, natural energy, natural lifestyle, is having a conversation with international Benjamin Netanyahu. And as a Christian, he tries to talk about how wonderful his experiences were in Israel. And he says, we only got spat on one time. Amazing success. I don't get it. Isn't one spitting incident good? Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's a positive development. When I told you guys that Christians get spat on in Israel, a lot of you thought I was joking. It's not a joke. Okay? It's not a joke, man. It's such a common meta that this dude literally said it as a positive that they got spat on one time. That's half a spit a week. You are misconstruing what he's saying.
Tom, we had only one incident where a small child spit on one of the pastors. And immediately after, there was an adult that came by and said, that's not a representation of who we are. You know, we love you guys. You guys are always welcome here. And I have to say, no adults gave us any grief.
Yeah, no adults spat on us. Just one child. Oh, that's awesome, man. That's an awesome story. Thank you. Thank you, sir. You have proven Am Israel high, you know?
We had no issues whatsoever in our experience there. It was actually an amazing experience.
And in Israel,
please explain a bit more. I need explanation. Yes, dude. The ultra-Orthodox settlers are sickos who genuinely will just, like, if you go to Jerusalem, they will spit on you. That's it. It's just, I don't know. I don't know why, but that's a thing, okay? That's a thing that happens in Israel, okay? Well, they're Jewish supremacists. What do you mean? Like, the way that, it's funny because, like, the way that neo-Nazis, like anti-Semitic neo-Nazis present, like, how all Jewish people are is not even the case in Israel either. But like Israel is a Jewish supremacist country. So of course they reflect Jewish supremacist values in Israel. There's going to be a lot more of that. It's a Nazi country. And a part of that is spitting on Christians. Oh, it's so funny. Oh, Jesus. Here's a video. Dude. Oh, man. Oh. Dude. Yeah. This happens all the time. It's worse around Easter when we march the old city. Oh. Yeah. Is this AI real? No, man. Why would this be AI? Bro, it's not like this is unique,
One
bro.
had spit on journalists, including our producers, just inside the Damascus gate of the Old City. Another had held a flag of Lehava, a far-right anti-Arab organization. A far-right, in some cases, a nationalist crowd here.
Like when they do the Liberation Day events, like they're all just singing "Death to Arabs," "May your village burn." You know, it's just it's a fun little clan party, you know? It's just great. Straight up, like that's what it is when you got the Nazi youth congregating in the city to celebrate how much of a Nazi they are.
Part of the flag march on Jerusalem Day, making their way into the Muslim quarter of the Old City. As we have stood here for several hours, we have heard some of the nationalist chants that have become associated with this event, with this flag march. This is Jewish land. We have heard Arabs are sons of bitches. We hate all Arabs. Those are the sorts of chants here. And
also, yeah, this isn't like just far right anymore. I would say that like big chunks of Israeli society used to say that these guys are not reflective of broader Israeli society. Broader Israeli society is very progressive, blah, 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 all this shit. But like post October 7, I think we've completely done away with that kind of approach, because like a lot of people clearly don't give a that this is just how it goes.
And that is the feeling of the crowd as they make their way into the Muslim quarter here as part of the flag march, and then on their way to the Western Wall in the heart of the Old City of Jerusalem. It is not Ben Gvir's first time in the Old City today. He visited the Al-Aqsa compound earlier this morning, the Jewish Temple Mount, as it's known to Jews, where he says Jewish prayer is allowed here, which would be a severe violation of the status quo. It's a claim he's made before. It is clearly a position he has openly pushed, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office has had to push back on that repeatedly, saying there is no change to the status quo. But that is very much what he has pushed, and that's what we've seen pushed here by this crowd. There was a flag here earlier today that said 1967, Jerusalem in our hands, referring to the Six-Day War when Israel seized the Old City of Jerusalem and East Jerusalem itself. And then right below that it said 2025, Gaza is in our hands. This crowd very clearly in favor of the reoccupation and the resettlement of Gaza.
Which is, would you say in all sincerity that this position is now simply just a far-right position in Israeli society? Or would you say that this is now broadly adopted by every subsect of Israeli society, with the exception of the few anti-Zionist Jews in Israel? I'm not talking about the Palestinian citizens of Israel, but just the anti-Zionist Jews in Israel. You know, I think it's inappropriate to consider this to be like a far-right position now. Because if this wasn't a far-right position, if this wasn't like the true center position at this point, just like given something that is going to happen, then there would be Israelis going crazy at this moment. Not simply to demand a halt to the fighting to extract the remaining 20 hostages or whatever, but like genuinely Israelis that are storming the streets to be like, this is unacceptable. This is completely, this is inappropriate. We do not want to murder Palestinians. We do not want to occupy Gaza. So that's the situation. And for those of you who say, well, the Israeli new generation will be like hopefully we'll be able to find a better alternative. No, it's actually the Israeli new generation that is entirely the Haredi population. That is the highest population density, because the ultra-Orthodox are the ultra-Orthodox are keeping the Israeli population above replacement rate. So every single year that goes on, there are more and more incredibly reactionary children. It's the like anti-Zionist or like even liberal Zionist Jews that, you know, live in Tel Aviv or have a deeper connection to the Western world, stuff like that. Like those guys either are leaving Israel or don't feel as connected to Israel, or just simply don't have children at the same levels as like the super far right militant ultra Zionists are having children. And that is a dangerous prospect that I have mentioned numerous times. It's one of those things that people clip chimp me all the time when I say like Israel inevitably is going to become a nuclear armed state that is completely captive to the whims and the mercy of like uneducated ultra-Zionist freaks. It's not fully there yet, but in the absence of any sort of real viable resistance against that sort of initiative, against that sort of encroachment, you're just going to see the Israeli society completely be overtaken by the dudes that you're seeing spitting on the Christians and shit. And yes, a big part of this, or if not the most consequential aspect of this societal change, stems from Israeli society and its broad inability to address its settler colonial occupation in its history, and also its ongoing genocide in Gaza. And because they never address or even seek to look at that contradiction, and they only continue to advocate for more death and destruction as a belligerent nation in this region, the more reactionary they get year over year, and they don't even realize it. They just think, oh, well, they're angry at us because they're anti-Semitic. Is it possible that Israel will progressively be more and more separated from Jews outside of Israel, and Israeli Judaism will be seen as a completely different thing? There is a generational opportunity. Yes, I think that's already happening for my generation and younger, for sure. I think that is already a significant attitude shift. I'm not just talking about like the anti-Zionist Jews. I'm talking like straight up people that feel a sense of shame for associating with Israel. I mean, there's so much. The very fact that there is an incredible network designed to constantly churn out new American Jews in the West to go and like live in Israel through birthright, through a Jewish camp and all these other like Jewish institutions of learning, and yet they still fail. They still fail to succeed with this generation. Gives me hope that I think there will definitely be. I mean, I think from this generation onward, like I don't think Israel will ever truly recover and bring in a new crop of American Jews into the Zionist camp.
Drop site, and here at Breaking Points, we have obtained quite an interesting document. This is the result of a number of private focus groups done around the world, paid for by the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
This is Israel's propaganda operation, but yeah. The implications are immediate. Here, this is like the fertility rate. Jewish demographer warns the threat of disappearance of so-called Israel. Head of the Shoresh Institute, Professor Dan Ben-David, warns of strategic... Patrick Ben-David. Professor Dan Ben-David. Professor of Valuetainment at the Shoresh Institute of Valuetainment, says he warns the strategic threat to the existence of Israel. His forecast, high birth rates combined with collapsing education quality could push the state into economic and military breakdown. Fertility rate in Israel is 2.9 children per woman, more than twice the OECD average. Okay, this is true. But the highest birth rate is in the ultra-Orthodox sector, 6.5 children per woman. Half of Haredi men don't work, and those who do earn less than half the national average. According to demographer Gilad Malach, the GDP loss from ultra-Orthodox male non-participation is 54 billion shekels, $14.6 billion USD per year. By 2065, cumulative losses could hit 6.7 trillion shekels, which is 1.8 trillion USD. This is what I meant when I said Israel is cooked in and of itself for this reason as well. About half of the children in occupied Palestine and Israel are educated at global periphery standards, especially in ultra-Orthodox schools and peripheral Jewish areas where boys skip core subjects entirely. When education lags behind birth rate, the state slides towards low-income world economic status. For Israel, that means it becomes impossible to fund both its army and its bloated social systems. The implications are immediate: a ballooning demographic that rejects conscription and drains resources, a shrinking tax base feeding higher welfare costs, erosion of the tech military age that sustains the Zionist war machine, recruitment gaps, brain drain, and budget wars already hitting the IDF. This is why the academic boycott is so consequential, is so significant, because it's like when there are art boycotts and academic boycotts, you basically starve Israel of its like its capacity to do any sort of brain drain whatsoever from a bunch of Jews that live in the Western world and all around the world, rather. And it no longer has that same like communication and back and forth, because every aspect of Israeli society is feeding into the settler colonial entity. It's feeding into the machine of an apartheid. And therefore, when people understandably want to forcibly sever ties for these things that I just mentioned, all of a sudden it becomes, it no longer can present itself as like a Western aligned nation, you know, this Riviera in a sea of barbaric, scary, monstrous, rapist decapitators that are, you know, Muslim countries. Isn't that a good thing? Well, it's only a good thing if Israel recognizes this this devastation and stops behaving like it has since its inception. That's the entire point. The entire point of these sorts of boycotts and divestment initiatives isn't to like do revenge on the Jewish society of Israel. the reason for why these initiatives are launched is so that they stop doing the violence and offer dignity, humanity, sovereignty to the Palestinians, offer restitution to the Palestinians. So obviously they're not invested in doing that whatsoever because they're so horny for blood and destruction. But yeah, that is going to cause the inevitable demise of Israeli society as we know it and as we understand it. It's already played a formative role in tarnishing the good reputation of Israel for the past multiple decades, right? Or not even the multiple decades, but like for the past 8 decades, they basically, Hasan, it's not Muslim either. Shut the up, man. Shut up. Muslim, okay? God damn, I'm Turkish, dude. I'm Muslim. I'm Turkish. Shut the fuck up. I'm speaking English right now, okay? Jesus Christ. Oh, I can't believe you're not saying Muslim. Oh my God. Who the actually is me on this shit? Like, what the? Why don't you say Muslim? Why don't you say Muslim? In Turkey, we say Müslüman, okay? Müslüman. Yeah, I can't believe I got the haram police in the chat. Like, what is going on? Language, though, that's a valid comment. No, man, it's not. It's not a valid comment. What the? Müslüman. Is that what you want me to say every time? Even Caroline says Muslim, right? By the way, not Muslim. I'm Muslim! Shut up! What is going on? Why are white Americans telling me how to say Muslim? Shut up! I'm saying it in English. So is Caroline. ... soon, inshallah. Wait, you didn't say inshallah. You said inshallah. That's up. We replaced vegans with the haram police. No, I banned a vegan earlier today. He kept spamming. He kept spamming over and over again. Will you try once a week? I just asked the Grand Mufti of Brooklyn, and he said that it can be forgiven if you say astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. There you go. We fixed it. Anyway, recruitment gaps, brain drain, budget wars already hitting the IDF. This is a self-inflicted siege. The entity is rotting from within while Gaza and the resistance bleed from without. This threat is no distant forecast. It's in motion now. I don't even think this is copium. I think this is reality. By the way, because like some people do engage in copium where they say like, oh, Israeli society will collapse any day now. And I don't think so, because their anger, their resentment, and their hatred for Muslims, their hatred for the Palestinians keeps society together. And it would probably be far easier to collapse Israeli society in the absence of permanent war. Like if the dust were to be settled and if the genocide were to be put on pause, then Israeli society could truly actually collapse. But as long as there is like a beating, a singular focus that Israeli society can focus on, then they're fine. And that singular focus is like the complete evisceration of all Palestinians, this revenge mission that they're on. So that's part of the reason why Benjamin Netanyahu continues this genocide as well. Because, I mean, this is how it happens in fascist movements, even though they like historically fall apart before it gets to this stage. But if this is the reason why we say fascism is a suicide cult, is a suicide pact, because there has to be a permanent outgroup that you're waging war against. So if in the unimaginably unfortunate set of events that take place, and they were able to finalize this ethnic cleansing campaign, then first they would move the crosshairs immediately to what Israeli society designates as Arabs, non-Jews, Palestinian citizens of Israel specifically, and then they would eventually move on to different subcategorizations. They'd probably go back to like Mizrahi, like anti-Mizrahi sentiment. You know what I mean? But it never ends. It's like it's a never-ending a battle where the in-group shrinks and the out-group grows ever larger. Well, of course, I'm talking the surrounding Arab countries first. Of course, chatters. They would go before they did that. I'm talking like they finalized the ethnic cleansing of Palestine, and then they would move on to first southern Lebanon. And more parts of Syria as well. They would inevitably try to overtake Jordan as well. But I'm saying that like eventually they would shrink the in-group. You must thank Erdogan for supporting the HTS-type Salafis is already influencing Turkey. Erdogan is doing that because he's a dog to America. This map presented by Finance Minister Smotrich proposes Israel annexing 82% of Judea and Samaria, has the Ministry of Defense logo on it. Yeah. far right figure, Smotrich.
And that leaked to us. So we're going to roll through some of the findings here, but to back up, the purpose of this project is clear. It is to test what messages will work for Israel going forward, particularly, quote unquote, after the war, in order to kind of try to regain some of the international legitimacy and standing that they have lost over the years. They did 15 focus groups, 6 in the United States, 3 groups each in the United Kingdom, Germany, and France. They also did what they call quantitative message testing, 8,050 total interviews, 3,250 interviews in the US, 1,200 each in the UK, Germany, France, and Spain. This is to set a baseline, a starting point to find out where people are now when it comes to their opinions on Israel. Spoiler, people in Spain do not like Israel's conduct. And then phase 3, what they call animatic testing. This is 5,600 interviews, 4,000 in the US and 1,600 in the UK and Europe, which isn't totally complete, but what by the time that this was put out. But
yeah, this has been really successful. I'm being sarcastic.
It's testing specific, what they call messages, tone, and delivery. So what are they doing? They're sitting down with people. This is very expensive work, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Millions and millions. And it's going to Stagwell Group, which is Mark Penn's firm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Mark Penn, former Clinton guy, now more of a Fox News Trump guy.
Sort of centrist.
Yeah.
Third way type,
but a
maybe.
quirky, anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
You can look him up. Go down the Mark Penn rabbit hole if you want. Yeah, he and his wife are involved with No Labels. Like They launched No Labels.
There you go. We just explained it perfectly.
Yeah, there you go. So what they do these focus groups, then they do telephone interviews, get baseline, and then they go back to people and try to figure out what can move people from their current baseline, basement level views of Israel to something that gives them some level of international legitimacy and avoids the isolation that is quite obviously coming their way. To short circuit and get right to the chase, effectively what they recommend is ramping up Islamophobia. They argue that when Israel is compared to when Israel is compared to Iran or Hamas, people generally prefer Israel to Iran or Hamas. And they also then survey people's attitudes, particularly in Europe, towards Muslim immigrants, and find that there are a lot of people in Europe who have some.
I mean, I could have told you that. Yeah, they're literally like, we can't defend Israel on the normal virtues of it being like a moral state or whatever. So the greatest way that we could defend Israel is by saying, well, it's a bulwark against like Islamo-style communism, Islamo-Gauchism, or whatever the fuck, right?